Welcome back, Guys in Jerseys, podcast number 2. As you can tell, we're down a man. Trevor's home sick, but that's not going to stop us from making good videos. All right, Colin, let's get into the weekend news updates that we have going on here. The Alliance American Football kicked off pretty big time, I would have to say.
I came out with 2.9 million viewers, beat out the Rockets and Thunder game, which obviously you got Russell Westbrook, Paul George, James Harden, and beat that out. But, I mean, you can't believe all the hype just yet.
That is true.
We touched on earlier, you said the XFL when it first started.
Yeah, it came out strong, came out of the gate strong. It's all about good football, but I think this proves that no matter what kind of football is made in this country, it's going to win in America. That's number one.
Definitely agree with that, and this could be potential. Like, if you guys read the blog last night, I talked about this could be a second chance for a lot of players. Watching the game last night, they brought up that 80% of the people in the Alliance of American Football have signed an NFL contract.
It's all about it will be the G League for the NFL. I think they're doing their aligned. I think there's 8 teams now in the AAF, whatever they call it, and you go in and they're aligned with these teams. You can be on an NFL roster the whole season, and then once the NFL season's over, you can go get this contract with this team. Your contract's just put on hold.
Exactly. I think this is great for those players that are second, third string. They don't get the chance to play in the NFL. They
Practice
can go
squad guys even.
Exactly. They can come out and they can actually show that they can ball. They got that opportunity now. There's some big names. Trent Richardson obviously played last night. Maybe working for his second chance. There's a lot of big head coaches out there. We'll see how this thing takes off, but I think it'll be exciting.
I will. Like I said, football wins in this country.
I agree 100%, and it shows right there. I mean, 2.9 million viewers. That's a pretty big amount of people watching that. Yeah. So let's move on to the next topic here about the weekend. The Celtics. You want to touch on that? I know you're a big Celtics guy.
They blow the lead. They were up by 28 points to a Clippers team that they just traded away their best player. You can't let that happen. Obviously, it's just not a good look.
And then I did see Marcus Morris kind of came out and made some comments after the game. Obviously, they don't have the best chemistry already in the first place. They're sitting in 5th place, and the team that everybody had picked to be in the finals. So,
well, I think the whole Kyrie thing's kind of looming on him. Is he going to resign? Is not? It doesn't matter. You got to play out this year. You have to play out this year because if we don't step up, he probably won't resign.
I mean, yeah, and it's going to be interesting now after Marcus Morris made those comments. Exactly. If they can actually pull it together, they got the All-Star break coming up. Maybe they can sit down and figure something out.
Hopefully. Well, and then you go into it. Now, the Sixers last night, the other thing that we're going to talk about, they blow out the Lakers. Yeah. Blow them out. 143 to 120. Bad.
And they looked good.
Yeah.
They looked good. They can get to the rack. They were scoring at the bucket no matter.
Well, Joel Embiid had a lot of trailing threes. Just come down, popping those out. Ben Simmons was shooting threes last night. I'm
going to say he took an attempt.
But he had some attempts. But I was looking at it now, I think I was a little wrong of last week when I said about the Tobias Harris trade. But who knows, though? They're right now, they just started playing.
Yeah, there's not a good sample size to figure this out. But if this is any indication, they could be dangerous come playoff time. And I'm excited all here for that.
For sure.
And then also, Michigan State basketball bounced back with a win over Minnesota, a big-time win. 79-55, looks back on the right track. They'll play Wisconsin tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be a big game. Big game. I mean, I think they heard what we talked about last week. We were harping on them hard. They came back to a not very good Minnesota team in the Big Ten.
And they did what you expect, what they needed to do. Yes. So it'll be big for them tomorrow night. Let's see if they can't get that win.
The last thing, AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am last night. They could have finished it out. Phil said, I wanted to finish it out. The other guy didn't want to, so he had to play into the morning. Phil took that, and he won. Shooting under par. Yeah. 19 under par.
Good for Phil, He's been struggling lately, and he's back. He got a good win under his belt. Good to see him get a win.
He's the oldest player, I think, to win that tournament, too.
I believe so, yeah.
He didn't play good last week at all in the Waste Management Open. I think he came back and he said, look, I need to prove I can still play at a high level.
Especially, you got Tiger coming back last year. He was playing at a high level, so Phil wants to show that he can still do that, and I think he did.
Yes. All right, let's jump into some NFL news. Big time. Kareem Hunt signs with Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I think it's ironic that he signed, and we had just talked about it last week, but we didn't know what happened. We didn't foresee it.
I didn't think it would happen this quick. Not at all.
No, he signed the 1-year deal. I guess after the 1 year's up, he'll be a restricted free agent with rights with the rights going back to the Cleveland Browns. But he's still not cleared, so he might not even sue up.
Well, we don't know what the league office is going to do. I mean, that video was pretty graphic. Like we were talking about earlier, I said for football, great moves, great running back. But as a man, I don't know if he is stable enough mentally or what he's going to do.
Well, there's also been a report out now that he hit someone in June too.
Exactly.
So
you don't know like what he, how he encounters people and what he does, what he thinks. So I mean, like I said, it's a great football move. I mean, it's the Browns. I mean, the Browns. They're going to do crazy stuff. That's a crazy thing.
I mean, that's a team that's trending upward and need to do something big.
Yes.
If he plays next year, that's big time.
That is going to be big.
Especially with Nick Chubb too.
Exactly.
I mean, that's going to be huge. We'll see what happens with that. You want to get into weekend? That's about all that happened this weekend. We get into the trade deadline, and that's over. We touched on it a little bit last week, but now we can finally come out with our winners and losers.
Yeah,
who do you think?
for sure. I think the biggest winner, to me, is the Raptors. You get Marc Gasol, who's a proven veteran. Now he is, playing for that winning team again.
Mm-hmm.
With a team that can really potentially get to the finals. And I think a lot of teams are looking at him.
I think that pickup of Marc Gasol really solidified that five-man role. Valanciunas wasn't bad, but I don't think he's the player Marc Gasol is.
He's not Marc Gasol. You know what I mean? There's a difference. He's a good center, but he's not an all-star center.
And you throw him in there with Kyle Lowry and Kawhi Leonard. I think that's going to be interesting to watch there. 76ers shipped off Markelle Fultz after last week's show.
I think that's
good move for them.
Loser for the Magic, though. I think that to me, that's my biggest loser.
Yeah,
it has to be. You give up a first-round pick for him. That is bad. To me, that is bad.
I mean, they want to take a shot on him.
He's bust.
Yeah, he hasn't proved anything.
He is a bust.
I still think between the Clippers trade and the Raptors trade, that's going to put the 76ers, and I think it's going to put the Raptors up at the top right now. Obviously, we saw the 76ers. They looked dangerous last night.
They did. I mean, they have a fourth guy who, if someone else is struggling on the team, someone else can take over.
He's a guy that he can initiate the offense. Exactly. He can create looks for himself.
And he can shoot threes, something they do not have a lot of.
Which, between him and Jimmy Butler, those are two pickups that help their shooting. It helps their defense. The only thing I see their weakness is they have a 6'10" point guard right now.
Yeah, that's the only thing. He can't shoot threes, but I think that's why they really went out and they got Tobias Harris.
Because Tobias Harris can play that for him, while Ben Simmons can be the distributor there.
Exactly.
That's just a really big lineup. It's a tall lineup.
It is, and I think that they're doing it. I think to kind of go against the Warriors, because the Warriors kind of have the two smaller guards and then the bigger, forwards and stuff. So I think that they feel like if we can get past the East, which is going to be tough, because the top, I think, of the East is so. I think everybody's there. There's 4 teams that are right there. I think that they think they can get to the finals. We can match up great, I think, with the Warriors.
And I do like that matchup. That's
for sure, a 6'10" point guard.
They're big,
Steph Curry.
But it's big guys that they can move.
Yeah, it's not like they're slow. They are very athletic.
Yeah, they're a very athletic team with a lot of size.
Exactly.
I don't really know too many other trades that really stuck out to me. The Mavs, obviously,
that's a big trade.
You still got to count them as a big winner here.
But
I think in the long run,
he's not playing this year, Porzingis, and he's, like we said last week, he's 7 foot. Who knows how he's going to come back from an ACL? That's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And also with a lot of pressure on them now with these 2 young guys, you got to start playing now. Especially in the West, it's going to be tough.
You're going to have to get up there. You're going to have to show that you're not messing around. You're here to contend. Tim Hardaway he hasn't played bad for them. I've seen a couple games, some highlights of him.
Him and Luka had a lot with each other.
Yeah.
They look like there's some chemistry there. He's going to give you 15 points. Yeah. That's just how it is. He's going to give you 15 points.
Luka absolutely took over against the Blazers.
He's taken over this whole
game. He outscored the Blazers in the fourth quarter, and that's nuts.
The whole team. He came in from Europe, and he said, look, I'm going to prove Europe guys can play in the NBA, and he's proving it.
And I think they got him some help now. I think it's going to be interesting years to come. If he stays in Dallas for a while and they can hold Porzingis, I think that's going to be a team to look out for in a few years.
Exactly.
I really think those are really...
those are maybe the biggest. Like I said, the Magic, I don't know why you do it, but look, they're thinking maybe you can get to a different situation. Fultz, he'll be fine.
I don't really necessarily think the Clippers lost. I think they took them out of the playoff race this
for
year.
sure.
But I mean, they have all these picks. They're going to be able to do something about it.
Exactly.
This summer. They're going to be able to make a big.
They want rebuild. They want total rebuild.
I do agree. Now we're on the NBA. We'll touch on the standings that we have so far now.
Let's talk about maybe some of our playoff predictions maybe going in, and let's talk about the MVP award too. That's always a big one. But first, let's talk about maybe your bold predictions for the playoffs.
Obviously, as I just talked about, I think the Clippers ruined their playoff chance.
For sure. I mean, they're sitting at 8th right now. I think the Kings are obviously moving up.
Yeah, the Kings. That's somebody else we didn't just touch on. Harrison Barnes going there.
Yeah.
I mean, they made some big moves.
Like a money dump, but it could help them.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to come in and he's going to start. He's going to put quality minutes down, and I think that might have been the jump with the Clippers getting rid of Tobias Harris. I think that's going to move them above there. Honestly, if you make a bold prediction, I can see the Lakers not making the playoffs.
That's the part where we talked about earlier. I kind of disagree with you on that one because I feel like they're going to get in, but I think it's going to be the 7th or 8th seed, and I think they're going to get beat in the first round of the playoffs. I don't see them getting up to that 5-6 spot. It's just too tough up in there. I just don't foresee it happening.
It's just when we look at this list of teams, dude, the West is loaded.
For sure.
You got to see
combated. It's packed.
It's going to deal with the Lakers having to go on a run.
They're going to have to. I mean, they're literally sitting at 500.
Yeah. The Lakers are going to need to go on the run. They're going to hope that the Kings maybe don't take off like they're supposed to and the Clippers still fall out. Maybe they can squeeze in as the 8th.
And then they're hoping maybe the Spurs will start going down
but if the Kings do make the playoffs like we think, then who do you got? You got the Spurs or the Jazz? Those are really the only two teams I can see dropping out. And with Donovan Mitchell, I mean, I don't see how the Jazz drops out, but the Spurs are still a pretty solid lineup too.
Well, I mean, the other thing I think that the Lakers could maybe hope for, I don't foresee it happen, maybe because James Harden has a lot of minutes going on right now. Maybe he gets hurt potentially if that were to happen, and I would see the Rockets obviously slipping out. But that is very unlikely of happening.
I think really they're just going to need these young guys to step up. They're going to need LeBron to get this team back together, and I think they can be successful. I just don't know if it's this year that they're going to be able to make a big run.
Well, like I said, they're worried about, I think, too much of the future when they need to think right now.
I think they have the skill. They should be a top 8 team.
And the more that they're looking at it and the way that this rebuild is going that they're doing, they're kind of going to waste LeBron, I think's prime.
I think so.
Because, I mean, now they're talking about Ben Simmons. Well, he won't even be a free agent for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
You're not going to
be able to get him in a trade.
Kuzma dropped 29 points last night.
Exactly.
Or 39 points.
Yeah,
Let me
23
correct myself.
23
in the first quarter.
First quarter, yeah.
I mean, they have talent there.
That's why, I don't know why you're even thinking about trading them. Build around what you have, and then go out and get that veteran with that cap space you have.
What they need, I think, is they need somebody that can play defense, that can straight up lock up somebody on defense. I think a lot of those people on this team, they can play offense. They can score.
Well, I think that's why they're going so hard after Anthony Davis, but why wouldn't you have gone hard maybe after Marc Gasol?
Yeah,
you know
somebody like that, somebody
exactly,
that you can get.
Exactly.
You wouldn't have to give up nearly your whole bench just to be able to do that.
Like I said, it's just they're not looking to me like it's just not looking good. But I foresee them getting it. I do because of just the fact that you have LeBron.
Yeah, but if we had to make one bold prediction, that's something I could see happening. The Lakers will not make it.
I could see that happening, or like I said, I could see maybe the Rockets if James Harden gets hurt. I think that's my bold prediction, is maybe James Harden gets hurt. Let's move on to the East now. It's pretty...
The East is kind of,
top heavy. Tight. The top is very tight, and then it drops off. You have the Celtics sitting there at 6.5 games back, then it goes back to the Nets at 13 games back.
Yeah, I mean, once you drop off that Celtics list right there, you're pretty much playing with a bunch of 500 teams or sub-500 teams.
Yes.
And, it's just, it shows that the top is heavy and that the West, I think, is definitely a little more competitive.
Oh, for sure. I mean, but I think you look at it, I think there's 4 teams right now in the East. If Victor Oladipo doesn't get hurt for the Pacers, there's 5.
You got the Pacers sitting at the 3,
there's
but
6. Right now there's 4 teams. They're definitely going to drop down. They might even drop out of playoff. I think that's my bold prediction, I think, for the East, is the Pacers might drop out of it completely. I think right now they're playing on that high. Look, we're playing for Victor Oladipo right now.
They can only last so long against these teams. You're going to need that number one scorer.
There's teams that are going to get hot. I think, the Nets can obviously get hot. Charlotte.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The Pistons, they still have 2 All-NBA players on their team. I foresee them getting in potentially. So I just don't. If they do get in, maybe the 8th, 7th, but I foresee them dropping.
I don't see. We listed everybody still in contention. The Magic and the Wizards here. I don't see any.
Well, no, I don't see them getting in.
making any run. I think the Pistons on 9 looking on the outside. I think they're the one team that I can see get in here
for sure. And like we said, maybe the Heat drop out, just what they have. The Hornets, it's going to be one of those where after the All-Star break, everybody's going to be zoned in from that 6 to 11, 12 spot.
I will say I don't think Milwaukee's going to finish as the 1 seed. I think Toronto's going to end up as that 1 seed.
Yes, they're only a game back.
I could see the 76ers making that push too, but I just think in the long run, I don't think the Bucks have the overall team that needs to be able to win the East right now.
I think what also hurts them is shooting too.
That's exactly what I'm going. They have Giannis, which obviously nobody can guard him.
Lapse on him, and I think but they did get Mirotic in the trade deadline. I think that's a very
good
sneaky
trade
too, because you can kick it out to him, he can shoot. But there's a lot, like I said, the 76ers. You only think you're going to get hot. The Celtics, everybody's waiting for them to.
Those are the two big teams that they predicted 1 and 2 along with the Raptors. The Celtics being 5 right now, obviously nobody expected that.
No,
They're supposed to run
not at all. Not at all.
So
no one expected the Bucks and Raptors to be this good, though.
Exactly.
Especially the Raptors. They get Kawhi, but are they really going to be that good? Well, they are.
Yeah, they are. And then, so I think the top half, I'd say you take the Pacers out of this, and you got the top 4 teams in the East. I think that's going to be interesting to see. I think the seeding is going to matter there because I think, obviously, you want the 1 seed, and you'd rather play somebody that's.
Well, yeah, if they all get 1 through 4, I think that they'll be happy. But, if it stays where the Celtics and the 76ers are 4 and 5, they have to play each other first round. It's going to be a tough first round.
Yeah, I don't think. If you're the 76ers, you don't want the Celtics on your side, and vice versa. I think you'd rather take your chances with Milwaukee or Toronto on your side. So I think the seedings in the East are going to matter a lot more. In the West, I feel like everything's.
I feel like in the West they're playing to get in. In the East they're playing just to they're just out there playing. You know what I mean? They know that they're in. So most teams know that they're in, so they can kind of maybe take it a little slow. But in the West, you're playing to get in.
Yeah, and I think in the West that it's so tightly. It's so hard to say this team's so much better than that team in the West. Everybody's so close-knit there that I think seeding's not going to matter so much. Obviously, you don't want to play the Golden State Warriors.
No, I don't think you want to play Golden State. I don't think you want to play the Thunder either.
I think the Thunder are going to be dangerous this year.
I think this is Paul George.
The way he's playing, he's playing really good. Probably one of the best years of his career.
Maybe MVP. Yeah. Maybe MVP. You know what I mean?
So I just see. The Western Conference just intrigues me so much more with how many more teams are competitive and how much tighter it is. The Lakers are sitting in 10th and they're 12 games back from the Warriors. And then you go over to the Magic in 10th in the East and they're 17 games back.
Exactly. But, no one thought, and they're under 500.
They are.
7 games.
Yeah,
no one, no one really looked at the Magic and was like, maybe playoffs. No. Everybody was looking at the Lakers and saying, this team's going to win 50-some games. Right now, it's not even looking like that.
I will say, in the West, when it drops off big time.
For sure.
But I think there's just more competitive teams that can make the playoffs.
Well, yeah.
That's why, I read something the other day. They're talking about maybe proposing just the top 16 teams get into the playoffs. I
saw that,
with
too.
no East or West. And
you can't do that, though, in my opinion. You can't. You have to go. Obviously, it would be like the Warriors playing like the Miami Heat. That'd be too easy of an early series.
But that's the same thing. Then you look at Milwaukee and the Heat; they should walk through that too.
Well, they're going to. But you know what I mean? It's if you're Golden State, you want to play a little bit tougher teams, especially in the West, because I feel like teams think if they can get out of the West,
they win it.
They're gonna win it. So I think I don't like that.
There's been a number of the last few years that they think the best 2 teams are playing in the Western Conference Finals.
Well, that's probably true. The only way you could argue that in the past years
LeBron's been in the East.
So but yeah, you could potentially prove that because you look at.
You look at last year, you had the Rockets and the Warriors. I think whoever won that is going to win the finals.
Well, for sure. You could argue. I thought the Rockets, Chris Paul when he got hurt, they would have won.
I think they would have.
You know what 100%. I mean? So I don't. It's just hard to see. A lot of these teams, any of these teams could go and run in the West.
Exactly, I think so. They all have those skill players. They got some stars.
Exactly.
It's going to be interesting. I think this last half of the season is going to be fun. The last quarter of the season, I should say.
After the All-Star break.
So I will say, LeBron's not going to be in the finals this year for the first time in however many years.
Long time.
It's going to take a lot of change in my mind about that, but I think there's going to be a long way.
It potentially could be he doesn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, he might not even make the playoffs and get that shot. So
Exactly.
So
Crazy.
now we got that. Who do you have for your All-Star break and MVP at the All-Star break? What are you thinking? Who do you got?
I think there's a few guys, obviously. I think there's two right now that I think are just far and beyond everybody else. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek Freak, and Paul George. I think you look at what, the Greek Freak is doing up in Milwaukee. It is ridiculous. I think they were not even, they probably looked at the third or fourth best team. They're number one right now.
Yeah, I think actually they have the best record in the NBA, or they do. They have the best record in the NBA by one game.
One game. Yeah.
Better than the Warriors.
Yes.
So, I mean.
You think of what he's doing, 27 points and 12 rebounds.
He's shooting almost 60%.
And he still has 6 assists.
Yeah.
I mean, that is crazy for a big guy that doesn't really shoot a lot of threes. He's getting all his paints in the point. He's taking a lot of beating night in and night out. I think that's crazy.
Where do you have? So you said you got Giannis and you got Paul George. What about James Harden?
I think obviously 36, points a game is spectacular. I mean, you put him. I think he'd be 3 to me just on the fact that where they are in kind of the playoffs, standings and what the team has been like this year. He's not had a lot of help, but you look at it, he still has almost 8 assists. And he's almost getting 7 rebounds.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's still got to be in that talk. But I mean, I can't argue with you that Paul George is definitely.
Yes.
I think the way he's playing has the Thunder a lot over. How do I put it? Exceeding the expectations that a lot of people had for him.
Well, and he's taking the shine away from Russell Westbrook.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
He's saying, look, I am the guy that could have been number one with the Lakers, but you guys wanted LeBron instead. I didn't want to take a back seat, and I'm proving that.
Exactly. And we even said last week that Paul George came out and said if he would have been traded, if the Lakers would have traded with him, he'd still be there.
Yes.
But they wanted to take that shot at LeBron. So now look at this. Paul George is going to prove that he doesn't need to go to the Lakers.
Yeah. I mean, the only two things I think that hurts Paul George and James Harden is their shooting percentage. James Harden's 44%.
They're
Paul
both
George
44, 45, yeah.
And you look at Giannis, 58. He takes a lot more closer shots, obviously. He's obviously taller. But I think that hurts James Harden. I think that's going to hurt him. Because everybody looks, you have 36 points.
But how many times are you shooting a game exactly?
You know what I mean? He's shooting a lot. They're not, 44% of them are going in. You know what I mean? But I think, to me, the best stat for him in the year is almost 8 assists with how bad his teammates have been.
Exactly.
And with how Chris Paul.
He hasn't been there. Yeah. So, I mean, James Harden is the Houston Rockets now.
Well, for sure. And the bright point for them and him for the MVP is obviously they're at the 5th in the West.
Yeah.
Right now.
If I will say, if he can move back up, they can get
They could maybe
2 or 3 seed.
Maybe get to, I think, that 4th seed with the Trailblazers because they could obviously slip.
But I don't think they're going to catch the Thunder. I think 4th is about where the highest.
I think so. I think that's where a lot of teams are.
I think maybe if they can go on that run and they can pass a few teams, if they end up as the 1 or the 2 seed, then I think he's the MVP.
Oh, of course.
Because with what he has, if he can move that team like that, that'll be impressive.
I think the other thing is we look at it. It's kind of like the NFL now. The new flashy toy. Who's the new flashy toy?
Exactly.
Who hasn't won their MVP yet? That's how they kind of think about it nowadays.
Well, exactly. I mean, look at LeBron's stats: 27, 8.5, and 7.5.
The only thing with LeBron is he has obviously not played. Majority of the games I think it hurts him. But you look at Kevin Durant; he's won one. You know what I mean?
I mean, these guys have MVP caliber stats, but it's just I think the NBA wants to see other people.
It's the new flashy toy. I don't think the NBA wants it to be like what it was back. In the 90s where great players wanted, more than once. They like to kind of see it, going around. I don't know if I agree with that, but this year I would definitely say Giannis.
I'd like to see Giannis win one. I mean, he is the Milwaukee Bucks.
For sure.
I mean, he's the reason they're number one. He's playing out of his mind. So now we talked about Paul George a little bit. What do you think about Russell Westbrook? He's still averaging a triple-double.
Yes.
I wouldn't, but if you actually watch the games and watch the tape, he's just not playing well.
Well, he's always been kind of a guy where he, tries really hard. Percentage has always been kind of lower. Guys don't really want to play with him. I think, we saw that thing of do we take him for granted with the triple doubles thing? I don't think so because of the fact that I feel like he goes out there every night looking to get one.
Yeah, I mean, he gives 110% every time.
You know what I mean?
There.
I think that's what kind of hurts him. Everybody knows. Look, you're trying to get that triple. It's not like it just kind of happens. You are trying to get that. You're trying to get that 10 assists. You're running to get them rebounds and to get them points. I think, like I said,
but I mean, that's a player that you want to have on your team.
For sure.
Out there, he's going to give us 110%.
But like what Kobe said with James Harden, that's not
going to win, exactly. And that's why last year what did they do? They didn't make the finals.
You know what I mean? I think that's what, obviously, look, I don't say we take him for granted just because he's a great player, but
I mean, he's averaging 21 points on
just-
41% shooting from the field.
it's hard to, for me, if he went out there and he just played and it just kind of came to him like LeBron,
It'd be a little
if
different.
LeBron just gets a triple-double, no, I think he's out there to get a triple-double, and I don't think, look, obviously that's not going to win you games. Even though Paul George scored 45 points in that game on Saturday, he was still overlooked because Russ had a triple-double.
Exactly. I think it's just Russ isn't used to being number 2 after KD left. He's always been the guy, and now Paul George is there, and I think Paul George is that guy in
Oh, for
Oklahoma
sure.
City.
I think, yeah.
And I don't know what's been going on. I mean, this is percentage-wise, this is his worst year, Russell's worst year he's had in his career.
Yes.
41% from the field, 24 from 3, and 64 from the free throw line. And 2 years ago, he was up over 80% from the free throw line.
Well, yeah, I think that's
So I don't know if there's a lot going on mentally.
maybe,
I mean,
you know what I mean?
he
Maybe
started
he's-
playing a lot better in the second half of the year than he was in the beginning.
Yes.
So I think maybe he's finally figured it out. Like, you know, I'm not the number 1 guy, but
Yeah.
I'm still going to help out, and we're still going to win. I mean, they're playing a lot better together this year than they did last year.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they're 3rd seed this year compared to, I think they were like.
They were struggling. They struggled
They
a
were
lot
like 5
last
or
year.
6
Yeah,
last year,
they
lower,
were struggling
lower.
hard. So
Obviously, I think playing together last year, getting rid of Carmelo, I mean, that helps. But
I mean, we aren't knocking that he's not a great player.
oh no, I'm not
Not
that
at
he's
all,
great
but
at
it's
all.
just-
But it's just I don't think the triple-double is
It's not as impressive for him
no
because
I
he's
think-
out to get it.
I think he's out to get it. You know what I mean? I think because he knows that's what won him the MVP. That first year he did it was crazy.
That was nuts.
that was crazy.
But now that you see him with the stats that he has and he's still averaging it,
it's kind of like
he's trying.
It's like it's like reckless basketball.
Yeah,
Out of the
exactly. That's how you can look at it.
It is
Exactly,
just-
100%.
you know,
That's
it's just not what you would want as a coach. It's not what you really want. Yeah, your guy gets a triple double, but I think it's like I said with LeBron. When LeBron gets a triple double, he's just out there. He just does it.
and
It
it's
happens.
it's just natural for him. And Russell's out there. I think he's trying to get it. I will say, there's some games that comes to him, but then if you actually sit down and watch, you can see that he's actually trying to get that.
Exactly.
So
It kind of looks to me like maybe he doesn't trust his teammates in some things. You know what I mean?
and
Maybe on like the rebound thing, maybe he's
Exactly.
got to swoop in. He thinks he has to. So I mean that could also be a factor. Maybe the little trust issue, but. Yeah, like you said, not taking him for granted because he's obviously been a great player. And
Yeah,
the fact
he's
that he's wanted
obviously-
to stay in a low market team, but
I mean, that speaks for something about his loyalty to
Exactly,
that team.
exactly.
So, I mean, he's a
But-
great player. I just think that the triple-double is this year. It's not as impressive as it has
oh
been.
no. I mean, if it was a triple double, you win a championship, that could be something.
Exactly.
But you know what I mean? If you're just playing to get into the
We'll
conference
see,
semifinals,
Once the playoff rolls around, if he can still average a triple-double and he can get all these percentages up and actually be playing at a high level.
well, and he gets them to the Western Conference Finals, and potentially if they knocked off the Warriors with the finals, because obviously he would love that.
Yeah. I think
That would
that's a
be
little
crazy.
different than just kind of how he's playing right now. I think
Exactly.
I'd agree with you on the stat stuff.
For sure.
So I think that's about all the NBA that we can touch on. All-Star breaks, this weekend?
Yeah, this Sunday, in Charlotte, there's gonna be a lot of fun things going on.
I think it starts. When do the activities start? Friday?
I think Friday night.
Friday night. So yeah, Friday night, Saturday they'll have the dunk contest. Saturday,
Yeah.
3-point contest, skill contest. I think I've seen the roster for the Celebrity All-Star game. Not too impressed.
No, yeah.
Not too impressed.
Heard 2 Chainz wasn't in it. He's pretty mad about that.
Yeah.
He's a great basketball player for a rapper. How you not gonna put him in?
I think they got Quavo back in it.
They do have Quavo back in it, but I'd like to see 2 Chainz.
They don't have very big names up. Like I just didn't really recognize a lot
Yeah,
of people on
it's-
there.
I just was listening on the radio and they said 2 Chainz is on. He's pretty mad. Pretty mad.
I mean, I think if you want people to actually tune into that, you got to get those big time names.
Well,
in
for
there.
sure.
'Cause, like, now
guys
people-
that are good at basketball too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, now you got people there that they got no idea who they're watching. They're supposed to be celebrities, but when you think of celebrities, it's somebody like, wow, they're actually doing this there.
Exactly.
And I think there's a lot of celebrities out there that can play basketball. We've seen it in the past.
For sure.
I mean, throw my man Kevin Hart back in there. Come on.
Oh yeah, for sure. Him and 2 Chainz on the same team, that'd be wild.
There you go. So I think Quavo will steal the show again.
Oh, probably.
I mean, I just didn't
Beast.
recognize really anybody else.
Beast.
Yeah, so I think that's coming up. Look at it this Saturday. So I think that's we're gonna take a break with this one and
It's pretty much gonna wrap it up.
wrap up segment 1 here. We'll be back with segment 2 here in a little bit.